Hello, and welcome to another meeting of the Geek Cabal. This is Cabal Whisperings, uh, episode 6, and today is September 7th, 2023. Um, I'm Jim, by the way, so
And Bob over here.
for you that are watching, if you're not watching, you're probably maybe left channel, right channel. I don't know.
Yeah, who
But
knows?
who knows how that goes. But anyways, yeah, the 6th episode. I mean, we're going strong here.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and just like normal, we're going to start with just some channel to dos and things like that. Anything that's going to be coming up. Some technical difficulties that we had with one episode.
Yes. So this is going to be probably hopefully much briefer than the others. Although every time I say that, it ends up taking a half hour. But here I'm going to try here. For one, this episode, and did we use these for the previous episode or just the Ahsoka episode?
Um, I think we've done one podcast with the new mics. One full podcast, and then I think we've done a couple single topics with them.
So we've the last, as of this video, podcast, the last few we've been using different microphones. So please let us know how they sound on your end. We think it sounds better. We've had a little bit of issue with like a tinny noise that I think we've resolved. I hope we've resolved. But anyway, just let us know. For those of you listening. Well, obviously, if you're watching it, hopefully you're listening and not watching it on mute. Otherwise, like I'm just going to flash some gang signs or something, and because I don't know what else you'd be watching it for.
Well, and
if you're watching and not listening, is what I'm saying.
And this is also for people that are maybe looking at starting their own YouTube channel, Just understand that there are a lot of difficulties. There's a lot of, okay, I buy equipment. Okay, that equipment's not quite what I think it's going to be.
And yeah. We've had a few misadventures with that already too.
Yeah, we bought some mics and we realized that mics wouldn't work with the mixer that we had. So, and right now we are. I'm going to tell you right now, if you're starting off in the beginning, don't go super expensive. There's some lower end price stuff that you can definitely start off with that seems to do the job just fine.
Yeah, we had to take a little bit of a sidetrack because of having to use multiple microphones. If you are just using a single one, the USB condenser mics are fine, but the mixer we have doesn't accept the USB end of the cord. So Jim found some that have normal microphone ends, and that's what we're using now. So
I see a lot of YouTubers actually will put their equipment in their description.
We're going to. I want to make sure this is what we're sticking with, and also there's another reason that we're waiting.
But anyways, so besides that, for everyone that's actually watching, you'll see we got some stuff out here. My youngest son put together this Sonic setup front here. Honestly, I think it's awesome. I mean, I grew up playing Sonic the Hedgehog. As much as I'm a Nintendo fan, first 16-bit console we had was a Sega Genesis.
Yeah.
My cousin had the Super Nintendo, so we had the Sega Genesis.
Yeah, for me it was Justin and Jake had the Super Nintendo. I didn't actually own any video game systems until the PS1 or 2 that I bought from someone else. My parents weren't exactly fans of us playing video games. However, occasionally we'd be able to rent the consoles from a local video store. But most of my friends had them. So, like I said, my cousin had the Super Nintendo. And so when I would stay over there at his house, we'd just go rent games and play them all weekend long. And then my friend Chris, that I've mentioned numerous times, he was the one that had the Genesis. And so we'd go there and play the game sometimes.
Well, I remember the one that I used to go and, I'd go over to his house a lot. It was Dick's house.
Oh, yeah.
And we'd play a lot of Sonic, a lot of Sonic there, and whatever other games. That was also when I first played Quarantine, which is a PC game where you play a taxi driver in a quarantine city, and you had to arm your taxi with like all sorts of weaponry. That
sounds familiar.
Well, one of the funny things is that you could put an ejector seat in the back, so if they tried to hold you up, you would eject them out, and then you could run them over afterwards. So. Anyways,
sounds like a precursor to Grand Theft Auto.
Kind of was. I mean, it's just like any other first-person shooter of the '90s, but you're driving a car instead of being a person, and yeah, you just upgrade your car. So, besides the kind of the technical difficulties with the audio that we've been having, the Ahsoka video where the ending of the video somehow got chopped off of it.
Yeah, that had to have happened while I was editing it, and I'm still trying to figure out how I chopped 9 minutes off the end of it because I didn't do anything to the end. I didn't remember doing anything to the end of the video, so I must have been really tired or watching TV and not paying attention or something.
Fell asleep on the keyboard.
That wouldn't be the first time.
But we had somebody tell us that.
Yeah, so we got thank you Charborough Beefcake. He put the comment in that it literally cut off right in the middle of Jim saying something, and I was like, well, that sounds odd. Maybe I thought it was just like the end title card screwed with it. But then I compared the run times. I was like, no, there's like 9 minutes of video missing here. And so
It's probably that blasphemous statement. You were like, "Shut up, Jim. Delete. Silence my voice."
actually, that was in there.
Because there was a moment where I'm trying to. Sometimes I'm not as eloquent at describing something. It's like I never meant to say that A New Hope was a bad movie. I said that if you really think about it, it doesn't storyline wise break a mold of any sort.
I took Jim's comments wildly out of context, created an entirely new context, in fact, and just kind of ran with it for the rest of the video.
Yeah, he pretty much dogged on me for hating The New Hope. So,
but no, Jim has his bona fides when it comes to Star Wars. I know he doesn't hate A New Hope. Like The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker, maybe.
Speaking of which, I saw an interview. Mark Hamill does not like Last Jedi either.
No, even the time it came out, he's like, he even said point blank, like he told Rian Johnson, like, I don't know about this.
He said,
I think he didn't use quite those nice words about it either.
He said what he said made sense. He says it works for that story, but does not work for his Luke
story. Yeah,
it doesn't work for his Luke Skywalker. It works for that story, which they treat this. If you really think about it, if you treat the sequel as its own thing, like a alternate timeline, okay, and that's what they should do. But I know it's not. That's a dream, but they use it as an alternate timeline. I'm like, fine, whatever. That's why I said I'm hoping Ahsoka just goes reset somehow.
Hey, I mean, if it works for the Halloween franchise of just like willy-nilly picking which movies count and which ones don't over and over again, like I think Star Wars has earned one mulligan here. So
it worked with Star Trek.
Yeah, there you go.
Now I say it worked, but the Kelvin timeline, well,
it's its own thing. They're entertaining. They're not anywhere close to like the philosophical Star Trek. It's like Red Letter Media said.
It's like the Michael Bay of Star Trek.
Yeah, that's what the guy from Red Letter Media. He's like, you know what? Because people were waiting his opinion because he had done like very lengthy videos criticizing the Next Generation movies, and he's like, look, this satisfies one of my criticisms. The Next Generation movies couldn't decide if they wanted to be Star Trek or action movies. These opted for action movies and just ran with it. So sure, why not? But anyway. Serious digressions there. So like Jim said, there was some issues with the Ahsoka video. The new one was going to be up it's going to be up before we're done recording this, because it's scheduled for like a half an hour from now. So it'll definitely be up by the time this video's up. Look for the one that says reposting or re-upload or something. I changed the title card to it and changed the title.
Ahsoka Reloaded.
Yeah. Then I should go with that. We'd probably get more clicks. People are like, oh, what's this? And then it'd be like, oh, what's this? Anyway.
Downvote.
So, and then the other is, I'm still working on the GenCon walkthrough video. Like, I put it on my laptop to run it so I could actually edit videos on both computers at the same time. And 10 hours later, it decided it was just going to crash the program. And once I actually was able to turn it back on, like halfway in the middle of it, it looks like that scene from Man of Steel where General Zod comes on the TV. And so, I swear to God, that's what it looks like. And so there's clearly a problem somewhere in it. The video was initially 2 different videos, and I think, actually it's 3 different videos, plus the intro we recorded for it. So I think the problem is the intro we recorded is in a higher level than the rest of the video. And then the intro we recorded at GenCon was in like the 4K, not the frame rate. I don't know. It's the pixel by pixel, and I can't think what the hell they call that. But anyway, So my current plan is I've put everything into the editor. I put the lowest grade video in first, so it would set the levels at that. And then as I add each video, it asks, "Do you want this in its native configuration?" I keep telling it no, so it should be downgrading everything to the lowest levels.
And we didn't. We still recorded in a decent level, but I think
Yeah, the video still looks fine. It still looks better than if I would record it off my phone. But I think it's the three different it's the three different settings are all just fighting each other or something, because the length of the video should be around 3 hours, I think. But if you put it in the editor, it says it's like an hour and 20 minutes, which can't be right. But if you like put the cursor over the file, it says it's like 3 hours. So something is getting screwed up somewhere. So it's processing right now. If nothing else, I should be able to put the first half up onto YouTube, because it didn't seem to have any problems. So I might have to break it into two videos if this encounters the same problem in the second video. If the problem's in there, then that video is probably just done for. But hopefully not, because Jim spent a lot of time on it. So hopefully that'll be up
well,
sometime in the week this podcast comes out.
well, the other option would be, besides the moment you had to edit out, is just to literally just put the raw footage and put no intros on it.
Yeah, I mean, that might be the other option too. So,
And I don't think anyone would really care, honestly, if you didn't have an intro on it. But it's 3 hours of walking around, or 2 hours, or how many ever hours of that. So
yeah, well, like I said, I think this approach is going to work, because, like I said, I've done the first video and it has the new intro we shot plus the intro from there, and it all turned out fine. And it is at the lower end of HD. So the other video should be the same. And so once they're mashed together, which my computer is attempting to do that right now as we speak, whereas yesterday when I turned it on, it said it was going to take 10 hours, and then the time kept climbing. So today it did not do that. It says it's going to take 2 or 3 hours, and so anyway, here's hoping.
all right, so I think we're good with the channel stuff.
Yeah, I think that's all the channel stuff.
All right, so you want to go into movies first?
Yeah, we'll go into movies here.
All right. So I think this time around it was me that actually watched the movie, and I think Bobby's on the non-watching end today.
I've been watching too many episodes of Bones lately. I haven't watched any movies.
So I've been having Owen pick the movies and kind of going through movies that I grew up with, or that before his time, and we had watched Mission Impossible, the first one, a few months back, and he said finally he wanted to watch Mission Impossible 2, and I need to look it up, but I'm pretty sure that one, or like you said, that one or the third one, I think has probably the lowest rating on it, and I could see why. After watching it, I'm like, this movie's a mess. Like, the plot, the whole thing is. I mean, I get that's how Mission Impossible is supposed to be. It's supposed to be like so over the top that nobody would believe that it, oh, it's just a plane crash. Well, no, people hopping out the bottom of a plane, and just huge, like, or like just to get like nothing, because they grabbed that one guy's back thinking it had some sort of virus in it, but it didn't. He injected himself with it to get it onto the plane.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I saw the second one. So,
but
like I think the last time I saw it was while it was in theaters.
Something like Commando would make more sense than what the hell they did. Just kill the guy before the plane takes off and then sneak off, and don't disturb my friend. He's dead, tired.
Commando's got all the one-liners.
You remember when I said I would kill you last? Yeah, you did. I lied.
Oh, come on. The best one is definitely let off some steam, Bennett, after he impales him with a steam pipe.
Good stuff. Good stuff. But no, it was an enjoyable movie, but man, it was the pacing of it, the story. I know that they've gotten better since then.
Yeah, it's 4 or 5, somewhere in there. I think it's 4, is where like something resembling an overarching plot actually kind of like starts coming together in the later movies. Like this, it's the same team, and You can tell they're working towards something, and they'd start referencing past movies, and
And that's one that it's fun, but it's just stupid. There's a motorcycle duel where they don't have weapons anymore, but they're just using the motorcycles to fight each other.
oh, I remember that part.
Uh, so um, I'm just waiting now to see if Owen's ready to watch the third one at some point. That's just like the Fast and the Furious movies. You could spend, a week just going through and trying to catch up to all the movies there are.
I skipped one entirely for the last one I went to go watch. I think I skipped part 8, maybe.
Of the Mission Impossible.
No, Fast and Furious.
Well, how we were talking about. So I don't know.
No, I'm totally caught up on Mission Impossible.
Well, I seen a post about the Fast and the Furious movie, and they're like, the first one, this was the big score. It's just like a truckload full of just
DVD players, yeah.
Now, like DVD players, like CRT televisions with the VCR combinations, and you go from that to like flying in space with cars, and it's like, how do you get from the? But you know what? I'm glad they're just like
escalation. That's how you get there. Not Escalade. Escalation. Or as I've heard at least one person pronounce it, Escalade.
It's so absurd, but I don't think people are going for the plot. I think they're going just because it's
plot.
It's mindless action.
I don't think the people making it are going for the plot.
There is a plot. It's family.
Yeah. Okay.
That's like where I seen was Toretto in the hallway with Darth Vader. And he's like, "You got one thing that," or he's like, "I've got one thing you don't have, family." And then Vader chops him in half.
No, I did like. I want to say it's part 7, could be part 6. It's somewhere right around in there. During the longest plane takeoff sequence in human history. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes.
Yeah. The longest runway ever made.
Where it had to be like 6 or 7 miles in length just to get that much filming time. Where Han supposedly dies and doesn't die.
Yeah, well, it's not all that. That part's funny too, but just the attempt to make it look like Vin Diesel would actually stand any kind of chance at all in a fight against The Rock. Because like Vin Diesel's actually not all that big of a guy.
No.
Whereas The Rock is like the roid machine.
Yeah, I hear people bashing him. They're like, like Vin Diesel's like, look, because they like, there's always like some picture where he's on vacation. He's just got like a beer belly, and people are like bashing him, like how old he is. Like the dude doesn't have to stay ripped all the time, and he's not, taking steroids and just going to the gym constantly.
Right. He's just an actor. Like he's not a former professional wrestler. Or anything like that. Even Batista, I think, is probably a little bit softer in the middle now at this point too, because he's not young either. So,
well, the weirdest transformation for, I say, former Vin Diesel thing is when I see him with hair. There's a couple of movies where he's got like hair on his head, and it's just like he looks so weird.
Yeah,
that'd be like me with hair. Now, oddly enough, though. I should post it online at some point. But me as a junior in high school, I actually had hair down past my ears at one point. Now I'm just bald, and I have to worry about the lighting in here to make sure it doesn't reflect off my scalp.
Oh man, the intro we shot at GenCon for the walkthrough, I look like I'm bald, like because of how light my hair is, and like the way the light's hitting it. It just like right here, it's reflecting on my forehead. It looks like there's nothing in here. Like it looks like I've got hair on the sides. But it's just like on top, because I know my hair is kind of thin up on top too, and it's light colored, so the lighting's right. It looks like I'm bald. That's why if I ever like take a picture, I intentionally try to tilt my head forward so you can see that I have hair. There's
nothing wrong with not having hair. You're the exception to the group here. Well, except for Owen. Owen's got a full head of hair, and
yeah.
But he's getting ready to turn 16, so he's he has a reason to still have hair. I had kept my hair till I was about 22. So.
Well, it's either that or he'd be like Chris. He's got hair, but a lot of it's gray.
Well, I'm going for the Reed Richards. If I do ever grow it out, I got the gray stripes on the sides there.
Yeah,
so.
I've been noticing a few white hairs popping up here in the beard.
I don't know that it looks distinguished.
Yeah.
But so
So there was something else under the movie front though that you sent me.
yes, and so my youngest son, who just turned 11, loves the Toho Godzilla. He did like the 2014 Godzilla because it was very similar to the Toho movies. And if you don't know, Toho is the kind of I wouldn't say the original because I think it was another company before that, but they're the ones that still do kind of what looks like the rubber suit Godzilla type things. But I think they've
Yeah, I was gonna say this one's not.
it's not, but they've made it in a way that it still looks like it's that kind of a posture. He's standing, like a person's in a suit, but it's not.
Yeah.
But no, I was watching.
So I guess we should say what we're actually talking about.
Yeah,
here.
so this is the new Godzilla trailer that just came out for Godzilla Minus One.
Yeah, and it's by Toho, like you mentioned. But it's coming to American theaters though, right?
It sounded like it was because it said like
December.
Yeah, it said nationwide.
Yeah.
So I assume that, and it looks like it's going to be in subtitles too.
Well, I mean,
which isn't a problem for me. I mean, it doesn't take.
Yeah, it's from a movie going perspective, it's not a problem. However, I think we all know that part of the fun of watching the other Godzilla movies is just the wild exaggeration with the dubbing.
Godzilla.
Yeah.
With a mouth that does not. But no, like looking at it, I don't know how they're doing those special effects, but they look. I mean,
yeah, they look pretty good.
They.
If I think about it, I'll make sure I link in the description. I'll link to the trailer in case you guys haven't seen it.
I mean, honestly, it puts like which I thought like the MonsterVerse Godzilla looked really good. The 24 the 3 movies that they look good, but this one I think for one it's not at night for every shot. It's like there's daytime, and this is a more traditional because Shin Godzilla, that was I'd have to look what year it came out. It was a few years ago. Was more of a I would say, and I can't use the word monstrous because Godzilla's monstrous, but a more I don't know, creepy looking whatever. It morphs into from like different states of development. Like it comes into land in Shin Godzilla, it comes onto land and it can't breathe at first, so it's just vomiting up blood and trying to grow the organs to be able to breathe on land, and so it slowly develops. And before they actually destroy it, when they destroy it, they like freeze it or do something. On its like all over its body are tiny little projections, look like little people that were getting ready to like hop off, and like it was morphing into like it's creepy looking. This one looks like it's going to go back to a more traditional.
Yeah, it should in case it's not clear, we should note that this is not, as near as we can tell, in the same setting as the 3 American one. Well, the latter 3 American ones, not the earlier American one.
Which I think is a good thing to do because I think having the two different, and I'm wondering with the -1 title, if
I'm thinking this is supposed to be before King of the Monsters.
Yeah, the 1955 one.
I'm thinking this is probably supposed to be like based on what happened in the trailer and the numbering. I'm thinking this is right after the war.
That was kind of my thought on it too.
And like Godzilla emerges because you heard at one point in the trailer the guy said something about they're not telling the public anything. That like they kept it under wraps and just blamed it on the war or something, and then King of the Monsters happens later.
Yeah, because the one guy said that he's not the monster is not going to is not going to forgive us for this, something like that. Yeah. So whatever they did, they've invoked the wrath of Godzilla. So it was good. I'm excited to see how that goes, and hopefully it's appropriate enough that I can take my youngest too, because you never know.
Yeah.
They may be like, oh, this is the time, rated R, nudity everywhere.
Well, I mean, if we were talking about Tarantino's Star Trek script, in all likelihood, it would have been rated R because everything he makes is rated R. So, and the Star Trek streaming has embraced, let's just throw the F-bomb around everywhere. So,
and the problem with that is just Picard dropping F-bombs is just.
It just seems unnatural, uncivilized is what it seems like. Like, it's okay for us to do that. We're pre World War III. We're still bent on consumerism and money, but he's supposed to be in a more refined era.
Yeah, for sure. It feels off and it feels forced in a way. I mean, yeah, I mean, in the
This is where I
movie,
should insert that clip that Drinker uses all the time. The one with the Starfleet commander from Picard. She's just talking to Picard. He's like, sheer fucking hubris. I'm just like, yeah, of writing that.
you know what I mean. He did have moments where he got angry and he said, "Damn it!" I believe in at least one of the movies.
Yeah, I mean, on the flip side, they're still human. Like,
I mean,
there are situations in Star Trek that warrant cursing,
well,
to say the least.
well, like where he was like murdering the Borg in the holodeck on the holodeck.
Yeah, no,
And not only did he just shoot them, but was enjoying the shooting.
yeah, yeah. That's kind of one of those moments, and I'm sure there's ones in the original series, and I'm sure like fighting the Klingons or fighting the Dominion. I'm sure the Dominion led to lots of cursing among Starfleet. Um, I think Cisco wouldn't have any trouble dropping some language on people. Like any man that's just gonna punch Q in the face, like he's gonna let the Cardassians know what he really thinks about him, especially Gul Dukat.
Yeah, I had an idea that for one of our single topic podcasts at some point revolving around Star Trek, and that's when we're putting together when I'm putting together those
The sets.
the sets for the battle cruiser and the bird of prey to be able to just go on topic about Klingons and
Oh yeah.
plus minuses of their culture. I see a lot of people say that they're a terrible race of people because everything that their whole warrior culture just doesn't work.
Well, I haven't watched it, but there is one that keeps popping up in my feed. It's something like Klingons terrible at being warriors or something like that. I'm just like, I really should watch this because he's probably on to something. But yeah,
Well, that and Gowron, where one of them got replaced by a changeling at one point. It was like it was one of the higher ups that got replaced in the Dominion War.
yeah. Well, I know Gowron got replaced by Martok, but that was a different matter. That was after Worf killed him. Then Worf turned down being the, it's not Chancellor. Yeah, it's Chancellor. But yeah, I turned it over to old General Martok. But yeah, the Godzilla movie looks good. So here's hoping.
All right.
That's I think it's about it on the movie front.
Yeah, just haven't been watching a whole lot of stuff. Schooling and stuff. It's hard to get time just to sit down and watch stuff. Though my youngest seems to be going through the entire Pixar library right now, watching stuff, which is fine.
Yeah.
He's only 11. He's allowed to do that kind of stuff. So
Jim's Pixar movies I'd watch.
there's some ones I wouldn't watch too.
Well, you know. So on the book front, not a lot's been happening. I've been reading the Dragonlance book. I'm less than 100 pages from the end, so I'm possibly between now and the next podcast, I'll finish it and have a review up. Just have to wait and see on that one. And then it'll either be back to Battletech, because I already have the next Battletech book that I'm going to read, or one of my real world topic books that I'm trying to read through. We'll just have to see how that goes. Gaming, some interesting news. For those of you who recall our GenCon coverage, and I think one of the other podcasts, the gentlemen who stole the gentlemen who stole the cards at GenCon have been charged with, I believe, it's felony theft.
Now this is all innocent until proven guilty in a court
Yeah,
of law kind
yeah,
of thing.
yes. To be clear, they've been charged. I'm not saying they're guilty or innocent or anything. The publicly available evidence does tend to look that way, but you know, they have the right to a trial and everything else. So no,
We have to,
not
always, we
not gonna.
we always have to cover ourselves because people
Yes,
can go and say that's defamation and all that kind of
yes.
stuff.
So they are the alleged assailants until we hear otherwise.
Yep. So,
But yeah,
I mean, we don't make any money yet on this, so I don't.
yeah. I mean,
don't imagine
and I there's
I might.
I'd be really impressed if they could prove damages somehow against us. So it's like, yeah, they'd win the case, but they'd have to prove that we somehow damaged their reputation, and I'm pretty sure that's going to be impossible. Unless they can prove one of our 279 subscribers was like on the jury or something, which I doubt. Maybe, but I doubt.
Yeah, if you are, do not leave a comment down below.
Yeah.
That'd probably be a bad idea. But no, we always have to get that kind of stuff out of the way anytime it's
Yeah.
legalese.
Yeah. And neither of us are lawyers either, just so, to be clear on that.
That's why we cover our bases so we don't have to.
So the other bit of gaming news is actually something I just watched like an hour ago. I watched the video about the upcoming Super Mario Brothers Wonder game. And again, if I think about it, I'll link to the video in the description. It's about 15 minutes long, but it looks like it's going to be a spectacular Mario game.
So I have not seen it yet. Is it in the style of like Mario Odyssey, like a 3D, or is it?
No,
2D?
it's a predominantly a side scroller.
Okay.
And I'm going to just explain a couple of things in it, and that'll be one I'm going to explain here in a second. It's predominantly a side scroller. It looks similar to the current like Super Mario Brothers and Super Mario Wii U, but the art style is changed a little bit. There was actually a big to-do about that a couple months ago that they mentioned that they were retiring the Super Mario U art style and going for a little bit different art style. I do like the way this one looks. It looks similar, but I do like the way it looks. They're not in the Mushroom Kingdom. They're in the Flower Kingdom, which apparently is a neighboring kingdom. And Bowser still shows up and, takes over, and you're, Mario and company trying to defeat him.
Well, I mean, it wouldn't be the first game to be outside of the Mushroom Kingdom because Mario Land was in Sarasa Land.
Yeah.
Which is
Mario 2 is in another game.
Well, technically, Mario 2 takes place in a dream.
Yeah.
But no, Mario Land, when they go and rescue Daisy, is in Sarasa Land. And Daisy's the princess of that.
It's interesting you mentioned Daisy. She's a playable character in this one. It's Mario, Luigi, Peach, Daisy, 2 different Toads, Yoshi, and what are the kind of rabbit-looking things they did a crossover game with?
Oh, Rabbids? Yeah,
Rabbids. Okay, so, and this is one of the features, is depending on who you play, most of those characters, I think all the characters play exactly the same, except if you're Yoshi or the Rabbid, you don't take damage. It's for if you want to go through the game to see the game, but without being hurt by everything. Now, if you fall in a pit or in the lava or something, you'll still die. But other things don't hurt you. So it's like an easy mode, essentially, for the game. And I thought that was an interesting feature to have that, because I don't think any of the others do.
Hopefully when they do speedrunning categories, they don't allow that, because that would be...
I would assume that it would be a different category for that. But that's another thing. Whenever you go to one of the worlds, because it's like the last... All of the games since Super Mario World is like an overland map.
Yep.
You don't have to play the levels in order that they're on the map. You can jump ahead to world 1-4 and then come back to 1-1 and whatever. I think you have to beat either a certain number or all of them before you go to the castle, but or however it's going to work. So you got that feature. There are things in the level that you can get. It's a super flower or something, but once it hits it, something about the level will dramatically change. Like some of the pipes could literally just start get up and moving. You could all of a sudden find yourself falling through the clouds. Or your size could change or something else's size. Just all kinds of things can change about the level instantly. And then to reverse it, there's a seedling that you can get later on the level that'll turn off whatever that was. The power-ups, you've got the fire flower, but you've also got an elephant power-up now that turns you like an elephant kind of person. And it lets you smash through bigger blocks. You can suck up water with your trunk. and use it for different effects. Because there's flowers all over the level that when you get close to them, they talk to you. Like, you don't trigger it, it just does it on its own. And some of them are like, oh, save me, or like, oh, hey, maybe you can get up there somehow. And a couple of them, one that it showed is like, oh, thank you, you gave me some of your water, let me do something for you, and, things like that. There's a drill hat thing that lets you tunnel underground. So, like, what it showed us, like, Daisy was coming up, or Peach was coming up, there's a bunch of the spike-shelled guys, and she, like, drilled under the front one and just went underneath all of them, then popped back up. Or you could drill down through blocks that are beneath you. You can drill up into the ceiling. So, like, this is pretty cool. Then there's one, the bubble power-up lets you shoot bubbles everywhere. And like a fire flower, they kill the enemies. But, like, you could fire them in both directions at the same time. So you could take out a turtle on each side of you, or whatever. There's all kinds of new enemies. Like, it was like a good, 2 minutes straight of just new types of enemies. Plus the usual, the Koopas, the Goombas, and, So, like, there's a lot in this game. And there's also badges that you earn in various ways, and it turns on some kind of effect as you're playing through the level. You can only activate one at a time. But, like, one lets you, say you hit the lava, you'll instantly jump up out of it and not die. One lets you, improves your, wall climbing stuff, and it looked like, just based on the screenshot, there's probably 20 or 30 of these things. So it's almost getting to be like Mega Man with an assortment of power-ups and everything. So that's why I said before we started that this game looks really impressive. Like, there's just all kinds of ways that you can tackle everything, and like the customization is going to be really through the roof. So
yeah.
I'm going to have to buy a Wii. I'm going to have to buy a Switch now, apparently.
Well, and I don't have Owen here to talk about it.
And for what it's worth, it comes out late October. So,
because Owen has been watching a lot of videos on a new game that came out, Starfield, from Bethesda. And one of the memes I saw was...
I've seen some videos on this particular topic, but I'm not going to go into them here.
I've seen a few funny posts about it, because one person goes, it's like Skyrim, but in space, and people are like, you already had me at, Sky... and it is like Skyrim, like, people are falling through the floors, and one guy was talking about the impressive amount of how, like, every object has some sort of physics-based whatever. He's like, I loaded 10,000 potatoes in my starship.
I saw a picture of that.
He, like, opens up the door and the potatoes just all roll out, and then shuts the door.
I think in the title it was even like, man loads thousands of potatoes in the game just to see how it looks. And I was like, yeah.
But just like any Bethesda game, it's they're very ambitious, but it's usually full of all sorts of funny bugs and different things where people are, like I said, phasing through the floor, and so at some point I'll have to have Owen talk about that, because I'm not as much into the new stuff. I mean, I am, but not quite as much as he is. So
yeah. Well, then we got one other thing under gaming. I sent Jim this article earlier today. Stonemaier Games, who publishes Wingspan among others, has a new game coming out later this year called Apiary, where you play as a spacefaring race of bees. Because, like, something happened to humanity. Maybe they died off, maybe they left. But then another species evolved in our place, which were the bees. They became much bigger and more intelligent, and now they're a spacefaring race. So, you're spacefaring bees.
I think the dolphins would have something to say about that. But...
Well, they can squeak all they want. They're stuck in the water.
No, yeah, Bobby sent me this article about this game about bees, and I sent him the meme of Batman going, "Bees, my God."
Yeah, which got the response of the Nicolas Cage from The Wicker Man fighting off the bees. But yeah, it's a game that it's supposed to be out in October. I only read the article. I haven't gone to check the rules or anything yet. But some of the other games the company's made are all like fairly well-known games. This is supposed to come out at Essen in October. It's in Germany, and then be shipping to U.S. customers kind of shortly after that. So yeah, that's I'm gonna look into it at least. See, I might end up buying it. I like bizarre game concepts. So space bees, sure, I'm down. But I think it's a bit on the gaming front, and which means we're going to get to the big topic, streaming.
Yep.
So, like we mentioned at the beginning of the video, the Ahsoka episode 4, our video on that is already up, and I'm going to try to get this up either probably Monday or Tuesday. So this will hopefully be up before Ahsoka episode 5 comes out. We'll see. But there's a couple things that I forgot to mention in the Ahsoka episode 4 video that we did. One was the fact that the Rebels apparently only have like one X-Wing pilot because he's everywhere. So the guy that we saw in The Mandalorian, the older gentleman with the gray beard and everything, kept popping up. Yeah, well, he pops up in this episode too. So yeah, the Rebels have like one X-Wing pilot. Sorry, the New Republic has one X-Wing pilot.
Well, and the funny thing is, last time we seen him, he was in or at least one of the last times we saw him, he was in that bar with the other member of the Rebel squad.
Yeah, I don't know his name, but I know who you're talking about, the green-skinned alien guy.
Oh, the purple one.
The purple-skinned alien guy,
yes,
yeah.
The little thought, whatever it's called.
Whatever it is. I expect him to show up before the end of this.
If he doesn't, I'm going to be like, seriously, what the hell?
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that you got Hayden Christensen back again.
Kind of.
You got someone.
Whatever the hell was going on with his face. Because we weren't the only ones. I've seen a lot of comments about that. So,
which I
don't know if it's the lighting, don't know if it's de-aging, but it's something that he doesn't look great. But apparently someone noticed a detail there's no possible way I ever would have noticed. So I have to assume that since they're making the claim that it's true. But apparently the lightsaber on his belt wasn't Anakin's lightsaber, it was Vader's lightsaber. So, just something to ponder if that guy is correct. I'll have to actually rewatch the episode and see if I can spot that. But, yes, that was one thing. Just the fact that, like, in all of space, it's like how the other movies, billions of planets, they keep going back to Tatooine. So here it's, the New Republic has to presumably have millions, hundreds of thousands, but definitely it's got to be millions of personnel and like the same X-Wing pilots just involved in everything. Like, where the hell's Wedge? Like, he'd be involved in everything. But I mean, the real answer is he's too old. But
too old to fly an X-Wing.
So then the other thing was, and I mentioned this while we were watching the episode, so I can't believe I forgot it. Their communications were jammed. Like, they spend half the episode talking about we got to fix the we got to get communications. Like, they're jammed. Like, they're not going to just unjam because you do something with your communicator. That's not how jamming works.
That's not how the Force works.
And so, like, they keep talking about that, and it's like, don't even worry about that. Like, fix the ship. Then figure out the other problem later.
Yeah, the ship that should have been easily found at some point.
Yes, and I know this is a series that involves the Force and, like, destiny and fate and all that, but they landed on a whole planet 12 kilometers from the enemy base.
And not only that, but wherever they landed, the one people were like, well...
Yeah, they should have been able to see them they should have been able to see them because they had to be large enough for the ship to land. And if they couldn't, their scanner should detect a giant mass of metal in a forest. Like, I get the whole, hey, let's shut down the electronics, which that was a good idea. Then it's like, all right, I'm sure they're gone. Like 30 seconds later, we can turn everything back on. I'm like, no, like that. This is the exact problem that existed in The Last Jedi. Whenever Benicio del Toro was like, by the way, I think they're just escaping in cloaked ships. Like, hey, we should look for those. And it's like, why weren't you looking for them already? Like, if you know the enemy could potentially have cloaked ships, and you have the capacity to search for cloaked ships, don't you just like have that machine just turned on? Like, unless that thing like somehow takes like 3/4 of the output of the engine or something, like that should be on all the time.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing here. Like, I know that you can detect metal. Because if you couldn't before the Clone Wars, I'm sure you sure as the hell could by the middle of it whenever you're facing an army of robots. Like, that technology should still exist. Should be standard issue, even though those fighters are from World War II, by the sounds of them.
Yeah.
But, yeah, and so, like, now initially, I thought this was still a problem at the end of the episode, too. Like, how'd they restore communications? But then I considered maybe the jamming was on the big ring and not like a ground-based jammer thing. So once it was gone, then conceivably they should have had communications back. So that part, I overreacted while I was watching the episode on that part. That's the likely explanation. But although that does raise another problem. To effectively jam communications, you have to jam every wavelength. Okay? Back in episode 3, how did the fighters communicate with the ring?
Well, there's a couple of things I was wondering about that. I wonder if they shut the jammer off when they had to beam the data from the map.
Maybe.
Not like they had just a giant, USB cable draping down from space.
Maybe they did, Jim. That'd be about the speed of some of these things.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, so there's just, we needed a line somewhere to explain this. Either say that it was on the ring, they shut it down, or just something, anything.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, jamming only means one thing.
Invasion.
Exactly. C.O. Bibble knew what he was talking about back in the Phantom Menace. Those of you who somehow don't know, go watch the Phantom Menace trailer. I'm pretty sure that's where it is, where it's like all right there in a chain. Because in the movie, it's a little bit more. The lines are a little drawn out and different. But I think it's in the first or second trailer for the Phantom Menace. I don't remember if it's the one that was before. Yeah, it had to be the second one.
Was it?
Because the first one is before Meet Joe Black.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Because
I just watched that one online, but the second one was in front of Wing Commander.
I know there was a lot of people, like Meet Joe Black had, I guess, huge sales because people were going to watch the trailer and then walking out.
Which is a shame. Like, I've seen most of Meet Joe Black. It's not a bad movie. Like, I would have stuck around because I'll watch damn near anything.
Well, especially if you pay for the ticket.
Yeah. Although, a lot of theaters, if you leave before like the halfway mark, they'll give you passes to another movie. You just say you think the movie sucked.
Well, the only movie I've ever actually seen people just walk out, and it was funny because it was just 3 of us in the theater, that I actually seen the only other person walk out and leave because he's like, this sucks, and got up and leave. That was District 9.
Wow. District 9 did not suck.
But District 9 definitely, if you're not into like movie documentaries kind of thing, like a documentary style movie, I could see where you're like expecting one thing and then you're like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
But
maybe he just wasn't a big fan of Johannesburg.
I found the movie very entertaining.
Yeah, I thought District 9 was good. I think they are actually making a sequel to it as well.
District 10?
No, I think it's supposed to be when the aliens come back. Spoiler alert for those of you who haven't seen a 10-year-old movie here, but
hell's gotta be older than that.
It's probably 15 years old.
But
so anyway, those are just my thoughts from the Ahsoka up to episode 4 that didn't make it in the review. And again, now those two in particular, I called out while we were actually watching the show. A lot of the complaints that I come across, I don't realize until I'm reading them online, which to me, at the very least for me, means that the show is entertaining, that I'm not noticing it while I'm watching the episodes.
14 years ago.
14 years ago. Okay, yeah. There we go. So, at the very least, I've been finding the show entertaining as we've been going along. So, there is that, because if a movie or show is not entertaining to me, I can begin to pick it apart while I'm watching it, like as what happened with The Last Jedi. So at the very least, this show is entertaining, even if I do come across, like in other reviews, and realize there's some real fridge logic going on for a lot of things. But for those of you who've never heard that term, the concept is it's something that makes sense until later on, whenever you're doing something like making yourself a sandwich, hence standing in front of the refrigerator, and just out of the blue, you're like, wait a minute, they would have just done X and not Y. What they did made no damn sense. Like, in the moment, it makes sense. But later on, once you're, like, there in the back of your mind, it's kind of tumbling over and over until finally your brain's like, no, this doesn't work. And it just hits you out of the blue. That's fridge logic. Not to be confused with fridging, which we already covered.
Yeah, I wondered because I did finally watch all of She-Hulk, and I wondered when she talked about being fridged, if that's what she was actually referring to. She makes a comment that hopefully they don't fridge her.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure that is what they were referring to. So,
I do give them at least a little bit of credit. I thought the end of or that episode of She-Hulk was actually fairly creative, and I'm not saying it was great. I'm just saying it was creative. I like the idea of.
well, that's a good segue into the next little bit here as we talk about the MCU TV shows, because supposedly, from a reliable insider, She-Hulk is getting a season 2. However, it's not even going to start like pre-production until after the writer's strike, so it's going to be a while.
Is it bad with She-Hulk that I actually thought that having all of the people fight at the end would have been probably a better ending?
Well, yeah, it's a superhero show. You're expecting the fight. Like that's what it all builds towards.
And I mean, I get her points, on that as well. That it's like, no, none of this actually makes any sense at all. But that's the point. Then they're
A lot of comic books don't. A lot of comic books work on fridge logic. It makes sense at the moment, but if you really start to think about it, it all falls apart.
yeah. I mean, just like the shrinking technology of Hank Pym and Ant-Man.
Yeah, you really shouldn't even try to piece that one together. So
Because they get one part right, that when he shrinks down, that he becomes, he still is just as heavy because his atoms are all there, but it fails to go in reverse, or when he gets large, that he should be not.
he should be he should be hollow almost,
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, so along with that, apparently the other shows, namely Agatha, the Agatha Harkness show, Echo, and Daredevil, are all delayed until at least sometime in 2024. Echo sounds like it's going to be early 2024, and the video I was watching about this, they basically had to reshoot the entire show. I guess like Kevin Feige got to looking at it and was like, no, I don't think so.
For Echo, you said?
Yeah. And now it's going to heavily feature Daredevil and the Kingpin as cameos. So it sounds like, if you put the pieces together, that something's seriously wrong with the show, and they're going to have to lean on the cameos to make it kind of bearable. So, and the problem might be, why is Echo getting a show? Like, her character wasn't that compelling. But, yeah, instead of why isn't she just in Daredevil's show?
Yeah, or, I mean, I think, Kingpin would have a more compelling show than.
Yeah. Yeah, especially Cuban pimp Kingpin from Hawkeye.
That was more animated show accurate.
Yeah, he goes through the other show, in the suit and everything, and this way just shows up looking like he just came back from Cuba and dressed like a pimp for some reason. It's like, well, that's a different take, but sure, I'll go with it. The Kingpin is many things. Now, Agatha Harkness, though, it's basically done. And it's being pushed back till next fall. Not like a month from now, but like 13 months from now. Well, to coincide with Halloween 2024.
And I was kind of wondering that, because, I mean, Loki is going to be coming out here soon.
Yeah, it comes out in October.
And I don't know that there's any other shows on the docket after, because usually it's like a Marvel show, that a DC show, or not Disney, or Star Wars show. My gosh.
Yeah.
I can't even think it. Yeah, usually between Marvel and Star Wars, and we just had, we're finishing up the Star Wars, and the Marvel one will start. So you would think it'd be a Star Wars one that would show up at the end of the year, but I don't think there's anything.
I don't think there's anything coming yet. But yeah, and so Daredevil's delayed till probably after the strike. Um, Ironheart is apparently dropped off the schedule completely. That's probably due to the strike, but we'll see. And yeah, then I mentioned She-Hulk already. So, although in the meantime, several of these season 1s and 2s are going to be on Blu-ray soon if you don't have Disney Plus. On the topic of Disney Plus, the price of the version that has advertisements is going to drop to $1.99 for 3 months from like $8.99 to try to entice people to raise them subscription numbers because they kind of suck at the moment for Disney. So, if you don't have it and you can deal with advertisements, get it for a month or two and blitz all these shows if you haven't seen them yet.
Yeah, we've got a couple that we still got to watch.
I still need to watch Miss Marvel.
Miss Marvel, I got to watch that one, and then Moon Knight, I got to watch it too.
Moon Knight wasn't bad.
Just sometimes it's hard to find time to sit down because hell, I can't tell you how many episodes behind. I haven't watched any of the Strange New Worlds since I watched the first or second.
Yeah, I'm still back in season 1, so.
And which is, I thought the season 1 of Strange New Worlds was good, so I want to watch it. I know there's going to be some moments I'm going to be like, eh, because that's just how things are nowadays.
Like when a former political candidate shows up as a Starfleet representative at one point. That's all I'm going to say on that topic. But no, with Star Trek, you're in a weird place because the show has always had a progressive bent. That's just the way it is, and it's just that I don't know if it's because we watched the original series decades after it came out. If at the time it would have seemed as in your face as some of the stuff in the current Star Trek would be.
Yeah.
Because we don't have the luxury of actually knowing. Like, the Next Generation came out when we were in like the 80s and 90s, so we weren't even graduated high school by the time it was done.
So there is one comment that came out, and I've seen someone post it, and I don't agree with it, but I want to get your take on it, and that is that without Star Trek Discovery, there would be no current Star Trek show line.
Well, there's a case to be made for it because it was the first of the newer class of shows, and Brave New World, Strange New Worlds spins out of it. So
it does. I don't think Strange New Worlds would be there if it wasn't for Discovery, but.
And without those, now Picard was kind of on the docket already, I thought.
Yeah,
so
you had that, you had Lower Decks, and you had Prodigy.
Yeah.
Which I believe Prodigy is going to another streaming service. It's not going to be on Paramount Plus. It's going to be somewhere else.
Nickelodeon?
Maybe. I don't know, because
I'm joking. It's more kid oriented. That's why I said that.
But from what I've watched a little bit of it, but from other Star Trek people that like really get into the whole Star Trek thing, they said it's a travesty that Prodigy is going away. So maybe it's better than I thought.
I think they're probably not wrong because I think the first season of Discovery wasn't bad. It wasn't great, but it wasn't bad. But it proved that a Star Trek show could work still. And so I think spinning out of that, plus I think the same guy produces all of them.
Yeah.
I think in a roundabout way they're correct. I don't think they're correct in the way of like, oh, it was a smashing success, and so everything else. No, it was more of a we can get by with new Trek, and maybe one of the others will be better. And
I thought season 1 of Discovery was okay. It wasn't.
And there were parts of season 2 that I thought were good. Like, I liked the big cataclysmic battle at the end.
Oh yeah.
Because it's like if you took the original Star Trek, like the look of it, but then used modern special effects with it. You know, because like they don't do anything crazy with the Enterprise. It still just has the two giant blue beams for the phasers instead of like the phaser cannons all over the place, and little details like that. You know, it looks like an older Trek battle, but with new effects, and I like that part. Didn't like that, like yet again it was an AI villain. Like I love AI villains. We did a whole video on them, but like there's other things in Trek, and this comment's going to come back. I'm sure whenever someone notes when we talk about the episodes that I think can make movies, because like almost all the ones I picked were AI villains. But I'm just saying, whenever Picard season 1, it's an AI villain. Discovery season 2, it's an AI villain. Picard season 3, it's the Borg, an AI villain essentially. Like, okay, I get it. Like, machines are bad.
Now, speaking of you were talking about the blasters or the lasers, the phasers and stuff on in Star Trek. This is one thing I always never got with the whole beginning of the Kelvin timeline when the USS Kelvin was fighting against the
Narada.
Narada, yeah, where it was, it survived like minutes, enough for people to get off and escape. Yet when that whole fleet went to Vulcan, the Enterprise was only like minutes behind.
Yeah.
Like it took Sulu to get the parking brake removed, before he could get going there. And yeah, they're only minutes behind, and like the fleet's devastated. And then nothing makes sense about the fleet because there's one section where the Enterprise has to fly past a saucer from another ship, but the saucer is larger than the Enterprise in its entirety.
Well, that I can't hope to explain. That's
the only
stupid ship design.
The only thing I could think of is that
it's a predecessor to the Nemesis.
Is that it was a space station floating above
that
Vulcan.
Could be, yeah.
And it looked like a saucer, but really was actually like one of the platforms that ships would,
That's possible. Now, the battle, if I'm being generous, we could say that whenever they first showed up, they were disoriented, being in the past and everything. Whereas here, they've been there for 20 years.
Yeah.
And they escaped from the Klingon prison and everything and all the deleted scenes.
Yeah, they should have left that in the movie.
And now, like, they've got their shit together. They mean business.
They should make an extended cut of that with that all included.
Because they obviously filmed parts of it, because there are parts of it in the movie. Whenever they're talking about Nero at one point, they show a scene where he like looks back over his shoulder. That's from that whole sequence.
Oh, did you see that? We should have talked about Ahsoka. Did you see that Episode 5 is going to be released in
theaters? Damn it, Jim. That's what I was going to surprise you with.
No, you can't surprise me. I saw it. It was... And I'm like...
Yes, earlier today, I saw... today or yesterday? Yeah, today. I saw a thing about it, and I was like, Episode 5. All right, well, I'll go watch that, I guess. It's in like 10 theaters, and unless we're going to drive to Chicago, we're not watching it. You're on Tuesday, Jim.
Going to Chicago? That's a 5.5 hour drive.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I was talking to Chris about this earlier, too, and I was like, they suckered me into going to watch the first 2 episodes of Inhumans on IMAX. I would have gone to go watch this, which, by the way, I never watched the rest of the show, but those first 2 episodes on IMAX are beautiful. Like, it helps that it's set in Hawaii, which is beautiful, or, most of it still is. Sorry for those of you folks who live in Maui, and no, I don't mean that as a joke or of any kind. But, yeah, I would have gone to watch it, which tells me that the next episode is going to be kind of long.
Which is fine. It needs to be.
Yeah.
And if you watch our Ahsoka review, one of our comments is that episodes 3 and 4 should have been one episode.
Yeah. For sure.
Because it tells just... I mean... If not, I mean, I know that everything's a part 1, part 2, whatever. But it should have been like part 3A, part 3B, because I mean, it's telling, an end-to-end story in that where you normally have.
It's another act in the narrative. It's one act between the 2 episodes.
Yeah, so it just didn't make a whole lot of sense to me on that. But
so speaking of, since I can't surprise you, I'm sure you've heard that Dave Filoni is supposed to be making a movie. Like cap off all of the shows, right?
That'd be interesting.
So it's supposed to
That gives
it's supposed to like kind of tie in the Mandalorian and Ahsoka and all the this stuff into like a definitive. So apparently all this is going to wind up at the box office supposedly. Let's see if Disney still exists as a company a year from now. But
well, if Disney doesn't exist, Star Wars will still exist.
Star Wars will still exist
because
this version of Star Wars might not.
I think
because if I were in the role of a guy with ludicrous amounts of money who ends up buying Star Wars at the Disney yard sale,
well,
the first thing I'm doing is jettisoning the sequel trilogy.
Well, you know that I guess there's been talks.
There's been talks. I know.
And with one buyer, a individual.
Yeah, and the prevailing theory was George Lucas, but some people now are saying it might be like a Saudi prince or something, someone that's just got some ungodly amount of money. It could be Haim Saban. There we go.
Mighty Morphin Power Jedis.
Well, I mean, Hasbro makes the toys for all of them. There's probably some crossover toys I don't know about right off the top of my head. So sure, why not? Get some Super Sentai action in there.
Yes. Yes, not to be confused with Super
Hentai. No. Like the whole time I was saying it, I was like, don't say it. Yeah, so I guess I can't surprise Jim and get his reaction on that one. That was going to be a surprise.
You know, it definitely surprised me when I heard that, but they kind of did that before with the Clone Wars, because the Clone Wars movie...
That was the only one I didn't get. That's the only Star Wars movie that's come out in our lifetime that I didn't go see.
I did, and...
I did watch it, I just didn't go to the theater and watch it.
But,
I've got it on DVD or something.
And I think this is the same problem that you would get with the Ahsoka. It's just going to feel like an episode.
Sure, but I would want to see, if the fact that they're putting on the big screen tells me there's some special stuff in it.
Well, I mean, so far, like all of the ship combat and everything's looked really, really good. I mean, I have no...
And we know from the trailer, I believe, that at some point we're getting a crap load of TIE interceptors going after something. So I'm hoping that means Thrawn actually has the Chimera and it's in operational order. So hopefully, it's Star Destroyer.
I know, but I'm hoping we get a TIE Defender.
Yes, to have the TIE Defender completely back in canon would be spectacular.
And to see it on the big screen, small screen, a screen other than the PC screen.
Yeah.
Well, unless you're watching the shows on your PCs, then I guess it would still be on the PC screen.
This is true. Because, that's... there's only one Lego set of it. I've got two of them. Because I was like, they're never going to make another one of these. Of course, I also have the TIE Crawler. The tank. I still haven't put that one together, but I've got one.
Empire at War, those were just terrible.
Yeah. I mean, like with the Lego sets... They've only this year have they finally released a new TIE bomber, and
I don't want that.
It's Jim's taking pictures of his cat here. They'll be on the Facebook group.
Yeah, if the camera's shaking at this point, you have to understand there's a cat rolling around trying to be cute on the floor right by the camera stand. So we probably get more views and more likes if we just put her on the camera.
Oh, Jim, we'd get more views if I just titled the videos differently with insane titles that have nothing to do with what's in the like the newest episode of Ahsoka is terrible. We're all sitting here. That's all right.
Yeah.
Hot take on A New Hope.
That's one thing. Like I do not believe in. I mean, clickbaity titles. If it involves what you're actually talking about and it's accurate, I mean, obviously you want a title that's going to grab people's attention. You don't want us to be like, here's a computer review.
That's all right. I'm just gonna have ChatGPT start making our titles for us.
Well, there's that. There's VTubers. That's a big thing.
Yeah.
VTubers with AI. So there's no.
Well, I've been watching some stuff on how to just have AI just make the videos top to bottom. Like you just feed it a topic, and it will create the voice. You choose the voice. It'll do the voiceover. It'll do the whole thing. It'll have subtitles in it, and it'll make like a 10-minute video for you. It's just ready to go.
Yeah, but now
I'm going to start a channel. That's all it's going to do, and we're going to use the funding from that channel to increase things on this channel. Because yeah, like the video, the guy's like, well, here, this took 5 minutes to make. He starts playing the video, and I'm just like, for real? Like that sounds like almost like David Attenborough is narrating that. I think he might be. And it's just, I just saw it, and I was like, there's going to be a very short window of time where these videos are going to be able to get monetized. Because sooner or later, YouTube's going to be like, hold up. All we're doing is these stupid videos that it's just like a circular, just going through the motions kind of deal. And I mean, if the advertisers put them in there, YouTube won't care.
Well, that's like there's been there's been a trend with kids videos where they'll take like a open source song and we'll just put garbage animation in the background and have a song playing over it,
Yep.
and then advertise it for kids because kids will watch anything, and it's just mindless visuals out there.
Maybe that's where we're going wrong. On all of our videos, I put that they're not for kids.
They're not.
Well, no, they're not. I'm just saying. Maybe that's where we're going wrong. No, I don't think we're going wrong. We're building at a steady pace. It is what it is.
Goal for 300 before the end of the year. So
we're at 279. We got another subscriber like in the last couple of days. Yes, subscriber. But when you're at these low numbers, like I said, it is what it is.
It just takes a video or a topic that hits the algorithm right. Because there was I'm not just a geek when it comes to like science fiction and video games and stuff like that. I'm actually a card nerd as well. I used to fix. Actually, one of my college degrees is in auto body repair.
That was car, CAR, not card.
Cars.
Just in case
Yes,
you thought
automobiles.
you thought I was talking about Magic the Gathering. We are talking about the mode of transportation here.
Vehicles and cars and stuff. I've had about 25 vehicles in my lifetime. I used to build lowriders.
I think I'm on number 4.
I used to build lowriders with his cousin.
Yeah.
Now I'm more into like the sporty stuff and all that. But where the hell was I going with all this? But now I'm trying to figure out where I was going with all this talk.
Well, we were talking about the AI generated videos and just the garbage videos.
Oh yes. Okay. So one of the YouTubers I watch did a video on he bought a Pimp My Ride vehicle, and whatever it was, he did a video on restoring a Pimp My Ride vehicle, getting it cleaned up, the engine tuned, and all that because it'd been sitting for years. Hit the trending on YouTube's front page.
Yeah.
Which is a hell of a thing to do, and he did it with a minivan that was on Pimp My Ride.
Well, now they can play that video in the steering wheel of the vehicle,
or watch it in the bumper or whatever.
Yeah.
They put the video. Oh god.
Because we heard you like your videos in your videos.
Pimp
as the 10-year-old meme goes. It's probably more than 10 years old at this point.
But speaking of which, have you ever watched a documentary about the crap that went on Pimp My Ride? Like the people, like half the shit that they would put in their vehicles, they would strip it out before they would send it off.
No, I didn't know that.
Like sometimes they would just put stuff in there and then they'd be like, no, you're not getting all that. And they would take it out. So it was kind of a scam, but no, I was going to say.
Kind of.
Well, I mean, they still got a nice vehicle. They got like the whole vehicle.
I'm just saying that.
The other one was that half the time they did nothing mechanical. So if the vehicle was a piece of crap running mechanically, it would still be that when they would send it out. It would just it'd be like painting a turd.
Well, here you go. Well, it doesn't roll. Well, you need to push it out. You got to go. We got to get the next guy in here.
But at some point in time when finances get back in order, I need to get me another vehicle to start working on. But no, but my whole point on that is that it would be great if we found that one thing that we could that would happen, and it would trend on you.
Yeah, but like we were talking about earlier before we started filming, we talked a little bit about like I was telling Jim that if you look at popular YouTubers, and this is going to be a serious digression into we're going to talk on YouTube about us on YouTube, and
it's Inception.
Yeah, there's definitely some Inception level stuff about to happen here inside the Matrix. So, if you look at a lot of popular YouTubers, there's people who have personality. They've got a thing. It's almost always a single person. I'm sure there's some groups as well, but and then they've got a persona because there's no possible way they're like that in real life. Like there's one guy that I watch who he does political commentary. I say commentary; it's a lot of ranting and screaming, but he usually makes a point. But I watched one of his videos from right after the 2016 election, and he starts off in his persona, and then he's like, "All right, real talk here for a moment." Like his tone of voice and everything just changed, and he's like, "This is what I really sound like," and he's like, and just goes into like, "I don't care who you voted for and all this." He's like, but X Y Z, and it was a real like, I'm putting aside the character for a moment. This is me. This is me really talking. These are my real genuine feelings on things, and it was just it's just a total eye opening moment because it was just so like 180 from his persona, and that that works if that's also inside you, and you can be that. But I personally don't want to pretend whenever we do these videos,
Yeah.
like the podcast like we've been doing so far. This is a lot. I feel this is a lot closer to my personality than a lot of things. Like when I do the reviews, sometimes I know I'm not the most like, oh man, this thing's super awesome. I'm like, well, here it is. But that's because even though I enjoy a lot of these things, a lot of these things don't like super excite me, and I've always just found that bizarre behavior from people, like the people that like whenever the Force Awakens came out, and you had the trailer reactions, and those people like, "Oh my God, it's the Millennium Falcon," and I'm like, it's a ship on a screen. Like, what are you spurging out about? You're like 18 years old. Like, I've been alive almost as long as the franchise has been around, and I'm not that goddamn excited to see the Millennium Falcon. Like, what are you like? Are you on crack? That's me. I'm just not that person. I'm the guy that would go to a concert and be like, yeah, this is awesome, instead of like, yeah, and all that kind of baloney. I just don't do that. Or I don't do it very often at any rate. Like for instance, like when I watch comedies, I laugh. If they're funny, except for there's one scene in Anchorman that I literally almost fell out of my seat. Like I almost doubled over laughter, fell out of my seat. The back alley brawl.
Yeah.
Because like there was a point, it's like I just wasn't even breathing. I was like, this is just so fucking hilarious. This just comes out of nowhere. But like literally nothing else in a movie has ever had that reaction with me. So like whenever I do the reviews on stuff, I like the stuff obviously because I'm buying it. But like I'm not like, oh man, look at this thing's just awesome. I'm just not that person. And I know that probably hurts or what we're projecting here. And so hopefully, at least in the podcasts, how I genuinely feel about things is coming through. And Jim, I know Jim has more of an outgoing personality and a persona, and I don't mean like a fake one. This is how he really is too.
No. I was gonna say the stuff like doing the Aquarius video. The excitement I generally had opening that was, 100% genuine because it just the pristine condition it was in, just the time capsule that thing was, it really excited me. Now, some of them like I think like the Virtual Boy, I wasn't quite as enthusiastic about because unless again, like I said, you can play the thing for about 15 minutes, then after that it's migraine city for most people, or vomiting and neck strain and all sorts of other complications.
Yeah,
because it doesn't have a head strap.
Yeah, but I mean, like things like the Warcraft 2 thing, like that. Like my legitimate reaction, if I would have found something like that, would have been, "Oh man, this is awesome!" I would have had a reaction, because that is awesome, and it's the nostalgia factor. Everything just kicks in on all cylinders, But like right now, I've got a BattleTech thing right here that hopefully in the near future we're going to be able to film a box opening for. But like, there's only one piece in there that I think is really cool, and hopefully it's going to come through. But like the rest of them, they're cool. I do like them, but I'm not just like, oh man, I'm glad I have this in my collection now, or anything. Like, okay, like whenever I saw it at the Catalyst booth, yeah, I was like, oh, I'm glad they have this. Gonna save me the trouble of ordering it online. But I didn't like marvel at it, especially since I already knew it existed. But I do like I see things online sometimes, and I'm like, oh wow! Like whenever I heard they were remastering Command and Conquer and Command and Conquer Red Alert, that got a reaction, you know, because I played the hell out of those games. Now I have the remastered versions; and they look awesome. But like, a lot of this other stuff we talk about, like I do, I do enjoy it, and I hope that comes through. But I'm just not the guy that I'm not a cheerleader. Okay,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, that's what it is.
Well,
And people that can do that, I'm not at all trying to put them down because A, it's working for them, and B, you know, they can do it.
and the one that comes to mind for me is the angry reviewer. The angry reviewer. There's a few that I mean, obviously, maybe in video games, I grew up watching the angry video game nerd. Originally, angry Nintendo nerd before. Um,
Before you discovered the Sega Genesis.
and I mean, that is 100% a persona because he does like
Yeah.
regular videos and he, just talks and stuff. But um, actually, his case is very interesting because he's went through a couple of groups that he was a part of, and
Yeah, I've heard a little bit about that.
yeah, in the beginning it was Screw Attack, and then I don't know, there was some other ones, but the group he's with now, there's a lot of controversy with it, and also a lot of people will say a lot of his content has gotten worse.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't quite have the drive to do it, which is it's to the point. It's like like I enjoy watching his stuff, but it's like he's burnt out on doing that character. It's like he doesn't have the elaborate videos and stuff that he used to have. I remember watching episode 100, which was Rob the Robot, where he had this like giant mech battle versus Rob the Robot. And kind of from there, it's just gone downhill.
Well, I know for me, like a big motivating factor for me even bringing this up to Jim before we started and talking about it now is some of the reviews I've been watching for Ahsoka. And like, I get not liking it. It's not perfect. But like some of the things I'm seeing, like, it's not that bad, you know. It's not, and that's it's art, it's subjective. I get all that, but just some of the vitriol. I'm like, you're putting on an act. Like, there's just if you genuinely believe what you're saying, then either you are so picky it's not even funny, or you're not a fan of Star Wars anymore, which is understandable after the sequel trilogy. Or something else is wrong. Because the show, there's nothing to get that upset about with this show. There's some things that don't make sense. There's some things that could be better. And we've stated most of our complaints. Like, we don't think it's perfect by any stretch. Like, there are other people that say episode 4 was like the best Star Wars episode of anything ever. I don't agree with that at all. First of all, there's not a whole lot to choose from. And second of all, I'm pretty sure it's the season finale to season 2 of The Mandalorian, when Luke Skywalker comes strolling in and kicks all kinds of ass, finally. But that's personal opinion. So, I see these things and I'm just like, come on, guys. Like, by and large, I agree with your criticisms on things, but like, this is just so over the top. Like, you can't really genuinely feel this way, and if you do, like, you're broken inside.
Yeah, so I guess what we're getting to is that we're not going to be a persona thing here, at least not right at the beginning, unless we decide that we're going to do a persona type show.
Next week, I'll be Hacksaw Jim Duggan, and I'm going to hit Jim in the face with a 2x4.
I don't know, sounds like a plan to me. We'd probably get some viewers from that.
Or Hulk Hogan. All right, brother. Ooh, yeah. Snap into a Slim Jim.
That's right.
Oh, yeah. Macho Man. That's right, folks. We were live in the 80s. We saw wrestling in its prime.
Hey, back in the day, I used to be known as Slim Jim because I was a lot thinner individual back in the day.
Jim, you're pretty thin right now.
Not as... I've almost doubled my weight from I was very thin when I graduated high school, and I put on easily 100 pounds.
Yeah, well.
And then I've lost a little bit of that, but...
I think from high school, like at my peak around last December, I think from high school it's about 100 pounds heavier. It took me a while to get to that, though. And since then, I'm back. I was around 350, and now I'm hovering around 285. So, I still need to lose some more weight, but I'm in better shape than I've been in quite a long time on that front.
And that kind of brings me into one little segue here. I'm not going to go into a thing talking about people need to get into fitness and all that stuff, but I know kind of with the geek culture and everything, a lot of times people tend to be, well, I can say a little bit more lethargic than
High calorie persons.
this, or yeah, that too. Um,
Oh, one of the dumbest fucking things I read last week.
oh yes, um, but
It's fat. The word's fat. Like
yes.
it's not supposed to be glamorous. Like
the the one thing that that I think that everyone should do, regardless of what you do, is take some time for yourself personally, mentally, physically. Um, obviously, taking a moment if you're struggling with things. Obviously there's stuff out there. I see a lot of people promoting BetterHelp, which is a therapy service and stuff like that. Because I know a lot of times, especially people that are into things like we're into, they do struggle quite a bit. And the one thing I say is, and actually, the Critical Drinker had something that they like on his Facebook page that they sent in all messages out because I guess some guy was just talking about ending himself on his podcast,
yeah,
and it brought up just a kind of a thought in that because I know people struggle, and I said especially people kind of like us because we tend to not be as socially talking to people. I just there's people out there to reach out to. I mean, heck, if you messaged on our Facebook page, Geek Cabal, and just needed someone to talk to, I mean, hell, we'd talk to you because I know it's tough. I know it's not always
yeah.
easy, and I mean, I'm been divorced for 4.5 years. Got 2 boys that I'm raising, so it's been tough. But actually, this whole podcast or the whole channel thing has been a great outlet for me to be able to get things talked out and honestly in a better place about it. So
Well, I saw a thing one time. James Doohan, Scotty.
yeah,
He saw this interview with him where he's talking about this person like wrote to him and basically said that they were going to end it.
yeah.
And oh, and Jim's microphone just about tried to take off thanks to our furry friend down there. And yeah, so he got a hold of him and it was like, well, I can't let this happen. Like and talked to him out of it and everything. And I was like, I've got the feeling that there's a lot of celebrities that would be like, yeah, well, sucks to be you, and just move right along.
Yeah, and again, it's not their place to have to.
Yeah,
do
it's not their job. But I mean, it's like Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford, from everything I read, like I don't know if he still does because I think he might he might not trust himself flying anymore because he's crashed a few times, non-fatally, thank God. And
hopefully not because he's still alive.
And but like he helps like with search and rescue stuff. Like he because he has a pilot's license and he has a plane, and like with fires and stuff, and because he's like, well, I've got the skill, I've got the plane, of course I'm going to help. And apparently he's also one of these guys like because of their wealth, a lot of stars don't go to the store for themselves. Well, he does. He like pulls over and helps people fix their tires on the freeway and stuff. Which hell, that'll get you killed in L.A. But no, he does it. Like he's a person. He's not it's not all the facade of the glitz and glamour gone to his head. Like he still acts like a person. And from everything I read, Keanu Reeves is the same way.
Yeah. But no, what I'm saying is that definitely make sure you take some time for yourself. Again, I know physical exercise. Like me personally, like today I ran a 5K. I do that for my personal. I'm not expecting anyone else to do that, but get out, go for a walk, get outside, enjoy some fresh air, vitamin D, that kind of stuff from the sun. Obviously if you have mental things, depression, stuff like that, and obviously getting help is not a bad thing. But big thing is make sure you take some time for yourself. Make sure you set some time aside to from personal development, things to better yourself. So
yeah, it's a shame Chad's not here to listen to me gloat about this. You mentioned vitamin D. That like with the whole red hair thing, like because of the genes, I've only got to be outside for like 10 minutes to get enough sunlight to get all the vitamin D I need. Like that's one of the advantages. Disadvantages: if I'm outside for 20 minutes, I get a sunburn. I'm only partially joking on that one. Sunburn part, not the other part. I just rambled off to Chad one time, like all the things that come along with red hair, and he's just like, "You're really proud of yourself, aren't you?" I go, "Yeah, pretty much."
Well, I may have a little bit of that because occasionally, depending on how long I let my beard grow, it'll like I actually have
Yeah,
the condition where it turns
yeah,
red. Like my beard will be red, but my hair will be brown. And
yeah. That's a somewhat common conditioning, guys. But like the big thing is the real big thing is red hair. It's the color that lasts the longest as far as into old age.
oh yeah, my dad who's redhead, and
Yeah,
he just finally kind of lost all of his red hair and kind of went all gray.
and I think it's partially because of that, and partially because I don't really drink very often, and I don't smoke at all. Like I do look a little bit younger than I am. Like my coworkers at work think I'm in my late 20s, and I'm not. I know that part of that is because they just aren't used to dealing with people just a little bit older than themselves, so they don't know the signs to look for. But like in terms of hair color and everything, and I don't have some of the other things that you normally see because there's not as much stress in my life, and I don't, like I said, don't smoke and don't drink.
Yeah, you don't have any kids to make your hair fall out and go gray, and
I've got a little bit of white in the beard coming in here and there. I pluck those out whenever I find them.
so.
But yeah, like to Jim's point,
But yeah,
definitely, if there's anything wrong, go,
I gotta say, yeah, in our
talk to somebody.
and I
And
say,
if it's got to be us, sure.
yeah, and I say our Facebook,
We're not counselors. We want to be crystal clear on that. Or
Yeah.
psychiatrists.
No. But I mean, if you just want, like, but that's in general. If you guys want to talk to us, I mean, yeah, we've got the Facebook Messenger. You can message the group there, and one of us can. We had one person message on there so far, and still trying to get that figured out so that it goes to my phone, so that I'm able to answer a little bit quicker than going to the Facebook page. Even though I'm on there about a few times a week trying to post stuff, and
Yeah.
I also want to figure out how to get people, because I think at some point we may want to get some admins on there so that they can start posting chat or posting like memes and stuff. That's hard to do though because
Yeah, we'll burn that bridge when we come to it.
I know it works with like
I don't think that's the expression. I've got
cross that bridge.
that. I was gonna go for the other one.
We'll burn that bridge as we're crossing.
I was gonna go for the other one, and like Ted Kennedy used to say, we'll drive off that bridge when we come to it. But that one's a little dark, so
Now, so when we were talking,
especially after what we were just talking about.
I'm just waiting for my camera to get knocked over here. My one cat is going crazy. She first pulled my microphone almost off the table, and now she's eating a looks like a twisty tie from one of the cables from the microphones, and she's right next to all the camera equipment. Grab that. It's gone, cat. It's gone.
Jim, I think it's about all I've got.
Yeah, we kind of rambled on there a little bit, but didn't want to go. We don't want to end on a super serious note. Do we have anything else?
I think if we were to delve into the other potential topic that we thought of, we're going to end up going for like another half an hour. So we might save that one for next time.
Yep, we can do that.
Just keep an eye out for our future episodes of talking about Ahsoka. We've got more BattleTech stuff coming. We've got a book once I finish the Dragonlance book, which will hopefully be in the next week. Have a review on that. We still got stuff from GenCon that we're going to be reviewing, and I will hopefully be able to fix whatever the problem is with the GenCon walkthrough video and get it up. So I think it's about all I've got.
God, sorry, I jumped there for a second because she grabbed the cable for the camera and had it in her mouth, and she
tried to take off in the living room.
Yeah, she. Again, we probably get more viewers if we just recorded her doing that while we talked over stuff.
Well, that's what we'll start doing. We'll hook up your phone like over here somewhere, kind of down there. And
yeah, I just need to make sure I have all the floor cleaned up, because the great thing about cameras is you can just throw crap on the floor and nobody can see anything around here. Yeah, at some point I'm going to actually have a room dedicated to podcasting and videos and all of that, so we can actually have some sound dampening and different things. But nope, I've got to come up with a couple more videos because I've been kind of slacking on stuff. I got to figure out what my next unboxing video is going to be. I've got a couple options there. And I want to review my Nintendo DS because actually the bag's the cooler part of that. Funny story with that one too. Um, yeah, and then I got, like I said, I think I want to figure out something with the building those Klingon starships and maybe just do a podcast talking Klingons while we put them together.
Yeah, on that front, I've got at least one Lego set that we're gonna put together. It's fairly small, so yeah, and it's a new one too. So,
all right.
Yep.
Well, I guess that's going to conclude this meeting of the Geek Cabal. So, doing the normal stuff, the likes, the comments, the shares, subscribing if you haven't subscribed. And again, I say like, but obviously, if you dislike the video, let us know why you dislike it, because
yes,
if we've made some grave error or said something that's offensive, we definitely want to try to take a look at that and see if we can fix it. Bobby assumes that he had at least one negative or one down vote on a video because of his hat. So, but anyway, that is all that we have, and we'll see you on the next podcast.
may the force be with you.
Always.